Here we go again. Time for another Hot Air Sports podcast with me, Macca, and me good mate, Mahona. And how are we this week, mate?
Oh, mate, you can see I'm in my sweaties.
Got your sweats on?
Oh, yeah, mate. Might go for a run later on. I'm all motivated by these Olympics. I'll jump over a fence and probably do myself some injury. But no, I'll just grab a bag of chips and sit on the couch, I think.
It's what we've all been doing, pal.
Yeah, mate. Plenty of sport on. The Olympics have been going strong, but let's crack into it with a few big questions, shall we? We had the big question on our Facebook page this week, didn't we? Has New Zealand rugby done enough to save their home test matches this year, with the possibility now that all rugby championship matches are likely to be played solely in Australia because of the travel bubble, as they were last year? What are your thoughts on this, mate? Do you think New Zealand rugby's done enough?
I'm just going to come off my long run up here.
Here he comes.
I think the New Zealand Rugby Union have done a piss poor job of administering rugby in this country. Not only have we seen the fact that we're going to be playing all of our tests, bar two, in Australia again this year, because the travel bubble's not going to open after the 8 weeks. So that means we're going to have to play South Africa over there as well. They've done absolutely nothing to try and get all the teams from COVID-ravaged Australia to get over to New Zealand where there is no COVID. Come on, guys, just hire a hotel in Auckland or whatever. They can stay there for a couple of weeks, do their training in their bubble and play rugby here. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Just no foresight whatsoever. Even Ian Foster, the All Black coach, has got stuck into the administrators, saying they've not been creative enough to try and get rugby over here. I now see that the two Bledisloe tests, one was supposed to be in Auckland, which is still going ahead tomorrow week.
Yep. The second one will probably be in Auckland too.
The second one's going to be up in Auckland as well.
Probably. Yeah.
Do no other cities follow rugby?
Nah.
I mean, I know they can't have it in Wellington because Beervana's on.
Beervana
is on at Sky Stadium, and that's far more important, obviously.
Well, they booked it. So
originally they were supposed to play in Auckland on the 7th, then fly to Perth, play the big test over there on the 21st, come back here and play in Wellington on the 28th. The thing that annoyed me the most was in the article that I read that New Zealand Rugby said, but Rugby Australia have said they can't shift the Perth test because that's far too important, and they've nearly sold out the stadium. So bloody what? God's sakes. Show some balls and actually do something for your fans. It's just bloody crazy. And then to top it off, who's their new sponsor that they've announced this week?
Oh, yeah.
Ineos, a gas and petrol supplier. Jeez, get with the age, boys. Come on, rent over.
Don't worry, mate. Mark Robinson's penned a lovely letter to the New Zealand public to ease our concerns. An open letter to the New Zealand public basically saying, look, don't worry, we've got this all under control. I know things have been difficult and all this sort of thing, but please, everyone, we're doing what's best for the game. And, you know, just ease your weary minds. Ease your weary minds, everyone. New Zealand rugby's in the best hands. We're doing what's best for it for the future. And stay with us as we walk along this beach hand in hand towards the sunlight that is the World Cup. I mean, come on. I mean, honestly, mate, we're in a bloody global pandemic. You've got to be quick to move. You know, you got to be quick on the ground, quick to move. And it just seems like our big behemoth, the New Zealand Rugby Union, just seems like a version of the Titanic. It's just
slow moving sloth.
It is, it makes a decision and then it says, we may have made the wrong decision, but we're heading in this direction now. You know, and it's like what it takes is leadership. You look at okay, compare it to the NRL. Okay. You've got Peter V'landys, who we had a good laugh at, you know, at the beginning of last year when he did a whole bunch of stuff that we thought was crazy, but he got the game going. Mate, at a day's notice, they relocate. They do they just do everything they can. They know that the ground is moving and there's a lot of moving parts and they have to do everything to sort of compensate for that. It just seems like the New Zealand Rugby Union is just like, right, this is our plan and we're going to stick to it. You know?
Yeah. Well, the other thing that annoyed me was they were saying, but Argentina have already booked their MIQ in Australia. Well, change it.
Oh, well.
God.
Yeah, I don't know, mate. And the thing is, New Zealand Rugby Union, I thought we were kind of, we got a bit of money, don't we? Got a bit of money.
I've got one word for New Zealand Rugby: Silver Lake.
Exactly. Throw it in the Silver Lake.
Haven't heard anything about that in what, 3 months now? Just
nothing.
Ridiculous.
I presume. Look, he's told us. Don't worry about it, Mackie.
Yeah.
It's being done. They've got a lunch today at Chin Chin on Quay where it'll be discussed some more. They'll write a few things on a few more napkins and pass them backwards and forwards and then charge it to the rugby union.
So who's Mark Robinson going to walk hand in hand with down the beach now?
No idea. I'll tell you who it won't be. Won't be two middle-aged men who do the Hot Air Sports podcast. That's who it won't be.
Bloody oath.
Oh, it's just ridiculous, hey, mate. Show some balls, show some leadership. Hey, it's just crazy.
Quite right. Anyway, moving on.
Okay.
One that you're obviously not overly happy about, with the Warriors have released star fullback Roger Tuivasa-Sheck early so he can begin his rugby career. Is this the Warriors putting a line through their 2021 campaign and pulling the pin, mate?
It has to be, doesn't it? I mean, he's our best player. And look, mate, Roger's done so much for the team. You can't question his loyalty. You can't question anything about him. But in the end, he gets paid $1 million a year to play rugby league. And he's our best player. We need him now more than ever before. I mean, it must be. It must be. To me, and we've also let Leeson Armel go because he's got personal issues as well. Look, I say screw it. Bring the whole bloody team back. Bring the whole bloody team back. Well, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the I just don't see. Yeah, last week we played like we may as well not be over there. So honestly, mate, it's an awful situation. I know the players have been doing their best over there. But Roger's our best player. He's showing so much great leadership. With him leaving now, I don't expect to see really any of it on the field. I mean, how can they, show leadership on the field when their leader has basically said, well, that's enough for me. I'm going to go and play NPC.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, look, I'm not bagging Roger. He asked the question, and he's been away from his family for a long time. And I don't bag the guy. I can't bag the guy. I mean, he's such a great player, and he's done so much for the team. All he did was ask the question. I guess it comes down to management. I guess it's harsh to say, no, we're going to keep you here, but even if you do ask that question. But for me, what is it saying to the rest of the players? What is it saying? It's just basically saying, what if, okay, here's a big what if. What if miraculously the Warriors win every single game for the rest of the season and they make it through to the playoffs?
Yeah.
Roger's playing NPC in Auckland, So obviously, to me, they've drawn a line through it. That's it. Yeah. Warriors fans, don't bother watching. Go home.
It's a bit like we've talked about it before, how American sports teams, once they get to the midpoint of the season and
it is
are pretty much out of playoff contention, they effectively trade away their best players and just play out the rest of the season and rebuild for next. This is what the Warriors are doing, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. It's sad, mate. It's sad. But I did see somewhere that the Warriors haven't played a home game now. It ticked past 2 years the other day. It's been over 2 years since the Warriors have played a home game. So, mate, it's been tough being a fan, but it must have been even tougher being a player or a part of the organisation over there, mate. They've done it so tough, I mean,
hats off to them for doing what they've done over the last 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, regardless of their performances on the field, I mean, just being away for that long and just trying to compete and keeping the competition going in its current guise, doing their bit for that. So, but yeah, Roger, good.
The Broncos or the Bulldogs.
True, mate. True. Could always be the Broncos or the Bulldogs.
Yeah. Looking forward for Roger. You'd have to say that he's probably going to adapt a lot better than, let's say, Benji Marshall did.
Oh, has to. Different position.
I mean, he played first 15 rugby, didn't he, Roger?
Oh, mate, he played Blues. He played for the Blues development squad. Yeah, so he played rugby all the way through school. He was a New Zealand schoolboy, played for the Blues, and then basically Sydney Roosters came in when he was about 17, I think, and picked him up. So yeah, I'd say, look, mate, completely different to Benji. Benji was out of contract, and he came across to play for the Blues. He was trying. Benji's he's a standoff or a halfback in rugby league, Where were they going to fit him? They tried to play him at first five. It's just a completely different game at first five, isn't it? I mean, Roger, I'd say they'd probably play him at 13. I mean, you probably play him as a midfield back. He's big enough that he can power through, but he's also got that great footwork. And I can just imagine the outside backs just licking their lips being on the outside of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck in the midfield, mate. I mean, he's just going to set up things perfectly for the All Blacks there. So.
Quite right. Another of our bugbears over the last couple of years, armpit and toenail offsides appear to be a thing of the past, with the Premier League match officials group confirming changes to the offside, handball and substitution rules at their recent pre-season meeting. A wider line will be used for offsides, giving the benefit of the doubt back to the attacking team.
Yeah.
Accidental handball and the build-up to a goal will be allowed, but not if it directly creates or scores the goal. And only 3 substitutions will be allowed, plus 1 extra for concussion. Now, the 3 substitutions, they stuck at it last year, despite many managers complaining about the overuse of players. But that 1 extra for concussion, football's been one of the slowest sports to adapt to concussion rules, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. I mean, that's a strange one. I mean, how exactly they're going to define concussion? Are they going to have a doctor, an independent doctor on the sideline for each game?
Well, I guess so. It'll be like rugby, where each team has their own doctors.
But you know the history of doctors in football, and they're like, oh no, he's fine, and often the player,
it'll be like the rugby and rugby league. They'll have an HIA.
Okay, well that's good. That's good if that's what they're going to do. Because if they're not going to do that, I would suggest that a number of managers will say, well, go out there and knock your head and pretend you're concussed, because we need another substitute. So that'll be the first thing that managers will start doing if they don't do that. So no, that's a good thing. I like all these other changes as well. I like the wider line. I like all this. But mate, see this? That's what it's on at the moment. It's on paper. Okay. Until I see it on the field, I just hold reservations that it's actually going to work, because it's all comes, you can write what you want, you can say, and it looks all sensible and all that sort of thing. But until it's actually practically mandated, and then it's decided by an individual anyway. It's a human decision.
Yeah.
So, and some of the decisions they made last year were just plain wrong. It's the individuals involved. So, good.
A couple of the offsides that I remember, the Patrick Bamford one where he stuck his arm out to point to where he wanted the ball.
The Mane one,
with the new rule, would be considered onside.
Yeah.
The Sadio Mane one,
that
where
was
he ended up scoring the winner against Everton.
The edge of a shirt.
Yep. And I think the season before, we had Roberto Firmino had his armpit was ruled offside.
That's right.
So that would have been allowed as well. So I mean, when you look at those examples, great. Yeah, as you say, it is still on a bit of paper.
Yeah.
Let's see it in practice. So, the Premier League season's only a couple of weeks away now. So, can't wait.
Get on. Can't wait.
So, proof will be in the pudding.
Yeah, those are good. Those are good changes, but let's just make sure that the officials don't stuff it up like they did last year.
Well, the other thing I did read in that in the article that outlined these, when the VAR is drawing the lines on the field, we won't actually be able to see that. All they're going to show is just the line that shows whether they're offside or not. That's it. We won't see
we won't see the grid and then the movement of it all.
Moving,
little. I don't know. I quite like the. I just thought that showed that basically was more transparent. They were basically showing not that I agreed with it, but I
thought that it showed the VAR's incompetence.
Well, it did, but maybe that's why they've decided not to show it. But it was nice to know. I don't know. It's just, I think any more workings that we can see, it makes it better for us. I'd love to be able to hear what they're talking about too. I mean, we can in the league. I mean, why can't we in the rugby? I mean, in the football. I mean, what are they hiding? No, I'm listening. And he's going, oh shit, this might be a goal. What are they hiding? Yeah. So, good changes. Let's see them implemented right.
Quite right.
Stoush is breaking out in Christchurch, mate. Oh, in the village of the damned, Stoush. They've never had anything like it, mate. In Christchurch, over the size of the city's new stadium. Now, it was originally set for 30,000 seats, but because of delays and rising costs, the City Council has said that it's only going to be 25,000 now and doesn't believe it should be any larger for one game of rugby per year. But there are other things, aren't there, Macca? There's Super Rugby finals, there's concerts, other sporting contests, there's Beerapalooza or whatever you called it. Beervana. So, I mean, there's other events and stuff that they could use it for. Is this reduction a betrayal to Christchurch sporting fans, despite it being the second biggest city in the country? Is 25,000 going to be enough?
No. I mean, originally, before they did set it for 30,000, it was going to be 35,000. I mean, Lancaster Park, whatever.
Oh, 42 or something, wasn't it?
42,000.
Yeah.
And obviously, as we all know, it was finished 7 months before the earthquake destroyed it. So we didn't get to see 42,000.
Well, did they get insurance for any of that, though?
I'm sure they would have, but
so
wouldn't have gone anywhere near covering
the
building of a new stadium. Yeah, I mean, you look at the Dunedin one. Yeah, it fills up for All Black tests, and apparently, I've never been to a concert there, but apparently it's absolutely
amazing
concerts.
Yeah.
I know my brother and sisters have been there for an Elton John concert and said you could hardly move in the place. And that can seat up to 30,000. I know they've got the temporary seats at either end, which they can put in and take out. For a city of Christchurch's size, I mean, people say, oh, yeah, but they don't even turn up to the current stadium. Yeah, because it's
awful. And you freeze your ass off, you get wet, you know?
You know, you've just got to look back in history at tests at Lancaster Park that have been played in near snow conditions, fog. Who can forget the 2005 Super Rugby final? Or 2008?
Yeah. No one saw it.
No one saw it.
I was actually, a funny story around that. I was actually away on one of my traditional annual mancations during that. We were out in the Wops and we didn't actually have any Sky TV or anything. So we listened to it on the radio. And the fight, and it was actually really good. It was actually really good listening to it on the radio. And then afterwards, when I turned it on the TV, when I got back to civilization and actually watched the replay, I was like, it was much better on the radio. Much better. You just couldn't see anything, could you? That was a terrible game.
Yeah. Well, actually, we were at the Opanoni pub.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. And the one of the locals came around with a sweepstake, and I won.
Oh, nice!
Crusaders by 7.
Oh, great! That's what you pick all the time, don't you?
Quite right. I just think somebody needs to pull their head in and just build something that is going to be there for many years and can suit the needs of the city. It's going to be an indoor stadium, so make it, just do it properly, for God's sakes.
Yeah, do it properly and do it soon, because if you don't, it will be 10 years down the track. We'll still be talking about the same bloody thing. And they won't have anything, and it'll cost exactly. It'll cost another $1 billion by then. And also, look at Hagley. Look at Hagley. So many people said, "Oh no, no, you don't do it. Don't." There was so much objection to that.
Yep.
They just bit the bullet. They did what they wanted to do. And who's complaining now? No one.
Exactly.
I mean, this is part of, when it comes to building stadiums, any sort of major infrastructure in any sort of city, you're always going to get objections to it. I go back to the Sydney Opera House. Okay. Oh. Apparently, when that was being built, 90% of Sydney-siders didn't want it built. Now today, it's iconic and everyone loves it, because someone took the leadership and said, nah, we're going to do this. I don't care. I will take the hit if it's not successful. But it takes really great leadership and balls to do that, and I just don't think there's enough of that full stop in New Zealand. Get it done. Do it now. Do it tomorrow. Build a 35,000. Look, if they build a 30,000 seat stadium, no doubt to me, that will be filled just about every Crusaders game, definitely every All Blacks test. They'll get 2 or 3 world-class concerts a year. And then you just do other events and stuff there, mate. I think it's a no-brainer for Christchurch, but
yeah,
what do we know?
if we were in charge,
mate, there wouldn't be any problems in the world if we were in charge. Come on.
Talking of problems.
Yeah. Okay.
Naomi Osaka withdrawing from Wimbledon due to mental health.
Yep.
Olympic champion and the world's #1 gymnast Simone Biles has withdrawn from the team event at the Tokyo Olympics, citing the same thing. While many have applauded the decision, some are questioning her commitment. What are your thoughts? And by the way, the USA team still won their 5th straight Olympic gold teams medal.
Yeah, so it didn't matter really in the end, did it? The whole thing is with her, she could have competed and done really badly and still taken a gold medal. And, well, badly for her. So for people like Piers Morgan and the like to come out and say, oh, come on, harden up. What the hell are you even there for? Blah, blah, blah. You know, it's just ridiculous. I mean, she's a young woman. She's been through a hell of a lot. If she's not up to it, it should just be her call to say, no, I don't want to do it. She could have picked up another gold medal basically in her sleep for that event. So it's not like she's trying to grab the glory or anything. You know, it's not like she's doing this for attention-seeking reasons or, you know, it's just crazy. I think we need to cut people slack. You know, we need to cut people slack, especially in the time we're living, man. Just be kinder. Listen to people if they're saying they're struggling. And, you know, the Naomi Osaka one's interesting, isn't it? Because she's a great tennis player. But I remember her first speech when she won the US, well, the first time I heard her talk, you know, she just sounded so out of her depth and so shy and all that sort of thing. And I thought, oh, well, you know, that's how you start. You know, she'll come right. And obviously it's really tough for her, you know, to do all that. Mate, she's an athlete. She's a tennis player, you know? I know it's part of it if you're that good that you're going to have those obligations, but I don't think that there's any real problem if you come out and you say you've got a problem with it. We should just understand. We should just say, all right, well, I'm going to cut them a bit of slack for that because, you know, we don't have the right to know what's going on 24/7 in anyone's life. And yeah, if they feel sort of, you know, obligated and violated by having to do some of that stuff, I just think, mate, be more understanding, eh? What do you think?
Well, I mean, the whole thing is there's so much more pressure on athletes these days, isn't there? Especially with social media, you know, that's the big kicker, really, and all of this. It's the crap that they get fed on social media. It's just, you know, that lowest common denominator comes out, doesn't it?
Yep.
And it just brings the worst out of people. Keyboard warriors, as our good friend Marty Devlin used to call them.
Yeah.
There's a lot more pressure. And I mean, people saying, oh, they just need to harden up. You know, they're still stuck in the 70s and 80s, pre-social media days.
Yeah. When people just killed themselves. I mean, you know, it's like, oh, that person, oh, why have they retired? Why have they retired at 25? Oh, well, you know, it's like people just left the sport. People just retired or, you know, or ended up, you know, self-harming or leave, you know, just going off the rails back in those days. Or basically a lot of the time they turned to alcohol.
Yeah. And of course we see it with sporting officials too, referees, umpires, they get death threats.
Yeah.
From idiots.
Yeah, Jeannie Wijnaldum the other day came out and said, look, you know, I never had any problems face-to-face with any fans. Any time I was at the stadium, any face-to-face dealings with fans, they were great. On social media, I got dogs abuse every time we lost. For me, I sort of thought, well, Jeannie, you don't need to read those comments. But at the same time, why shouldn't they be allowed? I mean, social media has enabled athletes to be more connected to us. Ironically, you know, make us feel like we have more ownership of them. And it's made us feel like we know them better. But at the same time, you know, it leads to
an outlet. Yeah,
exactly. So it's just a difficult thing, isn't it? But Simone Biles has actually made a statement in the last couple of hours. She said, the outpouring of love and support I've received has made me realize I'm more than my accomplishments and gymnastics, which I never truly believed before. So that's nice. I mean, obviously she thought she was defined by her sport, defined by everything. And now lots of people just coming out and saying, hey man, we just support you as a human being. So I think that's good.
Quite right. Oh, well, it's big issues for another week.
Cool.
we've obviously still got plenty more to talk about. There's
We certainly do.
something going on in Japan at the moment. What's going on over there?
Yeah, something involving rings, 5 of them, different colours. Yeah, the Olympics, mate. You and I have been slagging them off before they started.
Absolutely.
Not so much for the event they are. I always enjoy the Olympics, but the fact that COVID, we've still got that pandemic going on, and we didn't think it was a great idea. But hey, they're going on, so we're going to talk about them, and I have been enjoying them, mate. Some Kiwi highlights so far.
Yep. Oh, I love that triathlon. I just turned the TV on just at the right time I think they had about 3 laps to go in the run, and There was still a group of 6 when I first started watching, but that very quickly got down to 3, including the Kiwi Hayden Wilde. I think he just did an absolutely magnificent job sticking with those other 2 guys. The guy that won it with a lap to go, I thought, nah, he's gone.
Nah, he was gone. He looked absolutely rooted, didn't he?
Oh, and his head was going all over the place. And I
the guy from Denmark,
out of it. Wild could win this.
Absolutely.
But then the Norwegian guy just found something, and boy, he just exploded, didn't he?
He kicked. Yeah. No, that was a great race, and Hayden Wilde, very, very proud of that young man. He was very emotional afterwards. Of course, his father died about 10 years ago, and when he was a young boy, and had a great story behind him, and he was just so thrilled to get a medal, wasn't he? And that was just so lovely to see. Our rowers as well have been going great guns. Yesterday, our first gold medal in the pairs. Fantastic effort.
Great row from those 2. And of course, in their semi-final, they produced a world's best time.
Yeah,
really laid down the hammer for the rest of the field.
And those 2 actually jump in the 8 as well. They're going to row in the 8 as well. The next day, they could actually have, and they're another medal prospect, aren't they, later on today?
Yep. Familiar face in the 8s. Of course, Hamish Bond of Bond and Murray fame. Good to see him still ticking it along with the oars.
Yeah, mate. And then that repechage, they did really well as well. They look a powerful team. I'd love to see the 8. I'd love to see our 8 get a medal. Wouldn't that be fantastic to see all 8 of them up there on the dais, except there's no dais. So it's been interesting as well, the way they get the medals. It's nice when there's more than one in a team, so the other person can give them theirs and then they can get it from there. That's nice. I don't know how it's going to work with the 8s.
Yeah.
Would they just go down the line?
Give the medal to your mate next to you.
Or maybe they just give them all to the Cox, and the Cox goes down the line, and then they throw the Cox in the drink. Maybe I don't know. But the rowing is an interesting one, man. I've got a question for you, actually. What is New Zealand's most successful Olympic sport? Do you know what it is? Where we've won our most medals?
It would be on the water.
Yeah, it is on the water. Until yesterday, they had the same amount of medals. They had only one more gold in this event than they did in athletics. So athletics and this had the tied until yesterday. So
rowing
now has 9 golds, which is one more gold than athletics. So rowing is our most successful Olympic sport. Isn't that amazing?
But when you look back at some of the names, the Evers Swindells, Rob Waddell,
Mahi Drysdale,
Joseph Sullivan,
and then even further back we got our 8 and 4s, and
yep, absolutely. You're going back, Eric Verdonk.
Eric Verdonk, I do remember the single.
I don't think he won a gold medal, but he
got a bronze, I think.
He got a bronze, but some great names in the history of New Zealand rowing, absolutely. Canoeing, I think, is probably getting close.
Pretty close, yeah. And it might be a bit closer at the end of this Olympics as well.
Given the 4 they won at Los Angeles, a good kickstart. And, of course, with Lisa Carrington going great guns now, she's odds on to win a couple.
Absolutely.
The one thing I did really enjoy watching the other night was the canoe slalom.
Oh, yeah. Luca Jones.
Yeah, Luca Jones.
Yeah, she was really unlucky.
My good friend from Baseball New Zealand, Pandy Fruin, is now the general manager of canoe slalom New Zealand. So
nice.
Good stuff, Pandy. And
Nice.
following.
No, that's a cool event. God, they're so skillful, so skillful. Sometimes you just think, oh my God, they're going down the drink, and then just a couple of pedals, they're back around here. It's like, so strong. And what about the rugby sevens, mate? You catch the rugby sevens? I thought our boys.
I watched all but one game of the All Black Sevens run to the final, and
we were clinical in the semi-final. We were clinical, weren't we, in that semi-final? And then in the final,
Fiji were just too big, too strong, too fast.
Yeah, I agree.
In that explosive start with 2 tries in the first couple of minutes.
Yeah,
just absolutely blew us away. I thought when we got back to within 7 points, we might have a chance, but no. Not quite good enough. And the Black Ferns, they've started yesterday.
Yeah, they were lucky last night, man. Did you watch that last night? They were 21-0 down. To the Great Britain side, and they came back with a hiss and a roar. I think they won it 28-21 or something like that in the end. A couple of late tries, and one of the girls came up with the quote of the tournament.
Yes.
What did she say? What did she say?
Not enough hand sanitizer in Japan to clean this lot up.
She was talking about the performance yesterday.
Her own team,
they can definitely improve, and they will.
Yeah.
And I think they'll go bloody close to collecting gold.
Now in the boxing ring, is it still the boxing ring or is it the biting ring? David Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield.
David
Nika nearly his opposition from Morocco, I think he
Moroccan.
was. And
that's exactly right. It was just strange. For a start, David Nika, what a great looking man. I mean, geez, that man, he's got it all. He looks fantastic, but God, he can box too, mate. He's a fantastic boxer. He's just got
very technical boxer.
Oh, he's got a mind, like a computer mind. Like he just seems to be able to work people out and seems to be able to does a bit of the Floyd Money Mayweather as well. He seems to be able to avoid punches. Like his defense is just phenomenal, but just by a second, does the Matrix sort of style stuff. But he was just giving the guy a boxing lesson, wasn't he? And in the third round, he got a bit frustrated and decided, I'm going to have a little bit of a bite of this guy. He's so good looking. I just want to have a lick. And then he decided, I want to have a bite. Got in his cheek and then his ear. It was a bit strange, wasn't it? The weird thing about the boxing is that these were the heavyweights, and they had like a little lady in there. She must have been about 40 kgs wringing wet as the referee. and she can't touch them because of COVID. So they're getting tangled up and she's going, break, and they just have to listen to what she says. And of course, when that guy bit David Nika, he's like, he bit me. And she's like, oh, yeah, okay, carry on. You're just like, what's going on?
Yeah, because she was too short.
Anyway, it's fight day for David Nika today, mate. 3:51 p.m. He fights today. So
yes, by the time people watch this, his fight will have been done, and he'll hopefully be in the medal rounds.
Come on, go, David. Of course, there's the men's and the women's hockey as well. Both our teams, competing well, but it looks like they might not have the class to go all the way. The Australians looked really good the other day. Swimming, I quite like the swimming. I think Lewis I've got his name wrong, haven't I? It's not Clareburt, it's Clareburt. Lewis Clareburt has been impressive in the pool, setting personal bests, etc. In the medley the other day, in the semi-final, he beat his personal best by 4 seconds, and then in the final, he couldn't quite do that and finished outside the medals. He was doing well until the last 50, but he's a comer, that boy. He's a comer. He looks really good.
And he's back in action today as well.
He is. And he's in the final today, isn't he? In the I think it's the individual 800. That's right. Men's and women's football. You've been watching any of that?
I may have had a look at a couple of games.
Hope you didn't watch the women's football because that wasn't much of a watch. Oh, the game against the US was a bit.
Yeah, they got beaten up a bit by them, didn't they?
Yep, they did. The Australians are gone. The Australian football team are gone, but our football team carry on through. They had a great win first up, didn't they?
Japan in the quarterfinals. That was a great win in the first game, and I think they absolutely blew that game against Honduras.
Oh, the guy in goal, the boy.
20 minutes to go, and
the boy in goal.
Yeah. Keepers have those days, don't they?
But mate, hey, next game, clean sheet. So there you go. I mean,
stunning save against Romania.
He did, and I like the way that Danny Hay came out and supported him as well, because mate, goalie. I mean, that's just that's your life, isn't it? As a goalie, you make errors, they show up on the scoreboard. So, and go the New Zealand football team, the New Zealand men's football team, of course, through to the second round. First time we've ever done that in our history at the Olympics. And who did you say they're playing? Japan.
Japan in the quarterfinals, yes.
Beautiful. And also Venus and Daniel in the men's tennis last night. They lost to the Croatians, but they're playing, I believe, for bronze later on today as well.
Yes, absolutely.
You enjoyed anything else other than what we talked
about? What was it I was watching the other day I was quite interested in? No, it's gone.
I'm looking forward to the athletics anyway. Looking forward to it. That's when the Olympics really starts, isn't it?
Yep, and the track cycling I'm looking forward to.
Oh, yeah. I like that. A couple of other Olympic quick hits. Of course, there was that Danish beach handball team were fined for not wearing the bikinis. They decided to wear pants instead. How dare they?
How dare they? Them. Indeed.
What did you make of that?
That was just...
It's just bizarre.
People get with the current age.
I know, it's 2021, man. It's like, no, you can wear absolutely nothing. Now, name a footballer who could be an Olympian and what sport would they compete in? I saw this online the other day and I saw the funniest response ever. So really, I'm just reading that to give you the response that I read. Yep. It was Ryan Giggs in the women's boxing.
Only if it's his brother's wife.
Yeah, so I just thought that was hilarious, that answer. So I just thought I'd bring it on the podcast. But you got any footballers, maybe someone in the Liverpool squad that could be an Olympic athlete?
No, I reckon Paul Pogba would be a pretty good floor gymnast. That's all he does on the football field.
Yeah, true. Bruno Fernandes. Yeah, he'd be good at
be good at diving.
Yeah, diving. Beautiful. You got any predictions?
Others that'd be good at diving.
Absolutely. Now, any predictions for any upcoming medals, or we leave that?
Yeah, I think we could see a couple today in the rowing.
Emma Twigg today.
Emma Twigg is obviously well favoured. She's had a great run through the rounds. Of course, the 2/8s, the men's 8s and the women's 8s, are both in finals. So, yeah, I think they're obviously the next ones off the blocks. Looking at the athletics, you've got to back Tom Walsh and Valerie Adams to
absolutely. Yep,
whether they can stretch to a gold or not's another story. Obviously, Tom Walsh has got a massive opponent in American Ryan Krauser. So it's going to be hard to beat him. But
yep,
as with any sport, it's how they
on
are.
The day.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many others in the athletics that are going to excite us too much.
1500, Nick Willis, maybe. We write him off constantly, and he seems to do the work.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the cyclists and the track cycling. We expect some medals there, and of course the sailing, which is going on over the whole 2 weeks. We're bound to see. I mean, I think Burling and Tuke are currently 12th, but you know what they're like when it comes to the business end of the competition. They'll be performing pretty well. Got to feel sorry for the women's 49er skiff the other day.
Oh yeah,
Holly Meach
over the line, capsized. Oh, everything went wrong.
That was awful too, wasn't it?
Oh mate, some of that sailing is actually quite great because it's
that was like what I was watching the other day that I thought was exciting.
When they descend on the bottom buoy and there's like 50 yachts trying to go around. It's like awesome.
So different to watching the dribble that we were watching earlier on. Yeah.
I suggest we pull all the money out of that and we just put it all into Olympic sailing. How good would that be, mate? How good would that be? Just a little opinion piece on the coverage we've been seeing at the Olympic Games. And I understand, and some of it's been fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Some of the commentators are absolutely great. I love listening to some of the commentators who are even people like Mr. Watson himself, Mark Watson.
Mark Watson's been great.
He's got lots of opinion. He's prone to hyperbole, but he knows his stuff, and I quite like Mark Watson. And I like some of the other commentators too, and some of the coverage has been good as well. But some of the coverage has been diabolical. The sevens.
We've had a seagull's view of the sevens.
Mate, what were they doing with it? It was like they obviously had the spider cam and they thought, we're going to use the spider cam. We're going to use it every game for at least 5 minutes. And it was, honestly, it was like floating above and you just can't even see the ball. And
yeah, how's this tweet from the great Keith Quinn? A brilliant win by Fiji in the Olympic Sevens rugby, but why was so much of the visual TV coverage only for the pigeons and seagulls? Spider cam shots are all very well, but for long periods of running play, no thanks. Hockey and football don't do it. Please improve the women's coverage.
There you go. Keith Quinn's on our page. Thank you, Keith.
Master himself.
It's so true. It's so true. It's just like, if you've got, keep your fancy angles for the replays. Can we just get a nice side-on picture? And also some of the commentary. I mean, I was listening to the rowing the other day and I was going, what's going on? And all they want to do, some of the commentators, is give us color on each athlete. Oh, they did this, the last, and this is their backstory. And meanwhile, I'm watching them in an Olympic event, and all I want to know, you can give me their backstory before and after, but all I want to know is what's happening in the sporting event, because I don't watch it. I only watch it once every 4 years. I don't know a lot. I need to be sort of guided through. And all they're doing is saying, well, he's got a mother in Romania who likes eating certain stuff for breakfast. And I'm like, I don't care.
We don't need to know that his uncle's sitting on a couch in South Canterbury cheering on his nephew.
Absolutely. So just stick to what's in front of me and tell me what's going on.
Yep.
So please, thank you. Please and thank you. Okay, medal table update, mate. How are New Zealand going?
Well, thanks to the brilliance of the likes of TVNZ, the Herald and stuff, I know we've got 1 gold medal, 2 silver medals and 1 bronze medal.
That's great.
Thanks to all those publications for putting the 4 next to it, because I don't know if I would have been able to work out the total.
And did they when they've done the table, do they sort it by gold first? Because I know in America, in the US, because they're leading the medal table for the total amount of medals, they've actually changed the way they do that now. It's total medals in the US. Right. So
where else it's golds.
It's golds first,
US,
but in the US now, because China's ahead in gold, so now they've changed the way they do it. So so China's ahead. I believe the US is second, and Great Britain is somewhere. But anyway, New Zealand's got 4. That's all we got, and a gold.
One comment that has annoyed me a bit about the Olympics.
Yep.
I thought Russian athletes were banned.
So did I. And now they're the Russian Olympic Committee.
They're the Russian Olympic Committee.
Yeah, that's bollocks, eh? Yeah, no, I don't get that at all.
I think that's probably the only bugbear I've had about the Olympics, is seeing the.
I've got another one.
Committee.
I've got another one on countries. Why are the home nations competing as Britain?
Always have done.
No, they haven't. No, that used to be
always
Scotland.
Been Great Britain.
I'm sure it used to be England. Okay, so
England, Wales, and Scotland in the Commonwealth.
In the Commonwealth, but why? But aren't they different nations?
They are, but they've always been Great Britain in the Olympics.
Why are they allowed to do that?
That's why you never see England, Scotland, or Wales in the men's football competition.
Why are they allowed to do that then?
The only time they've done it was when London's held the Olympics.
Okay, so why are they allowed to compete as Great Britain? Because are we allowed to go, okay, we're going to join with Australia and become Australasia, and we're going to get a few more medals then, and then we're going to be higher on the table?
Well, I mean, I think it's obviously got something to do with the Queen, and the sovereign state. I don't know. I guess it goes right back to when the Olympic Games first started, when maybe they were considered as Great Britain.
Not
that great.
Yeah, just a strange one for me. I just don't think they should be. I think they should be competing as their nations.
Well, as I say, the Commonwealth Games, they compete separately.
Yeah, and the Russian Olympic Committee, they're doing really well. And why they don't get that at all, mate? Yeah. Anyway, that's enough Olympics. Plenty more to come in the following days, and as the Kiwis hunt for more gold. Should we move to football, mate? Should we move to football? Right. Transfer rumours abound. Varane and Sancho look like they're done deals. Sancho's already a done deal. Varane looks like it's going to be done in the next couple of days. They're waxing lyrical about that, and it looks like they're going after more players. So how much money do United have, man?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Our Liverpool owners are saying we just haven't got the money to spend, so we need to sell. All you hear about is the fact that the Glazers have run United into how many trillions of dollars or pounds debt, yet they still go out and spend 73 million on Sancho and another 40 or 50 million on Varane. Where's this money coming from?
No idea. We always get told they're the biggest club in the world. The biggest club in the world. They've got so much.
Sport club in the world.
The Glazers. I mean, they just seem to take money out. So I don't know where the money comes from, mate. But just seems like they just every single year they just make more and more signings. But as a Liverpool fan, we cannot complain. We just have to go trust in our coach. Thank God we've got a good coach. Thank God we've got a better coach than them, mate. Nuno Tavares and Albert Lokonga to Arsenal. Emi Buendia, that's an interesting one. And Ashley Young. I thought he'd retired. He's gone back to Villa. Chelsea is still looking at Haaland, looking at paying over 100,000 for him. It might be a goer. I don't know. Haaland's made some interesting comments in the last couple of days saying
distancing himself from
a little bit
rumors a little bit, isn't he?
He's just saying that's a lot of money to spend on one player, and I'm a Borussia Dortmund player. And at the moment, Borussia Dortmund do have the power because he's not out of contract. He's got another year so before it's into the last year. So they hold all the cards and they're the sort of club that unless they get the money for their player, they're not going to sell them. They did the same with Sancho last year. They said, nah, until you hit our valuation, we're not going to sell them. So I hope to God they keep hold of him. Townsend, Begovic, and Damari Gray. Woo, they're going for all the big players at Everton.
Yep, absolutely.
How about Leicester, though, man? They picked up some handy players. Patson Daka, he was really good at the Euros. Ryan Bertrand and Boubakary Soumare have all been signed by Leicester. Scott Carson's gone to City, and they are still looking at Kane and Grealish. There's been fresh rumours about Grealish to Liverpool, but then again, another Grealish rumour that Man City are going to buy him. I don't know what to believe about this Grealish thing. I think they'll probably end up with Kane, but I don't know about Grealish.
It was interesting. Rio Ferdinand, of all people, came out and said that Liverpool should buy Grealish.
Yeah, I agree.
Why are we listening to Rio Ferdinand for advice?
The most sensible thing he said in years, mate. Yeah.
Now, Wayne Rooney's having a bit of problem at County Derby.
Poor old Wayne. He's got no players. Last year they had financial irregularities, lost a lot of points, nearly got relegated. Yep. Made it through the season. 2
players tried to kill themselves in a car accident.
I know.
After a party amongst the players.
Yeah, so that was one of them was the captain. Yeah. So they sacked him. Now they've got only 11 players on their books, and Wayne decided to don the boots and play a little bit of football with them on the practice field, and he ended up taking out Jason Knight, one of their star players. Foot apparently it was a studs up tackle. So I don't know what he was up to, but he's now on the injury list. He's going to be out for 3 or 4 months. So they've got one less player now that Wayne Rooney's decided to practice with the team. I just thought that was a fairly funny story. Yeah. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain has been playing false 9 in the preseason, but there are rumours that Klopp is going to make the brutal call to sell him before the season starts. Do you reckon that'll be the right call?
No, I love Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and a fit Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain would just fit in beautifully, I think, to the Liverpool side. Playing, he didn't have a great season last year. He injured his knee in pre-season training, and of course, we didn't see him till nearly Christmas. And we just saw flashes of him. And when he did come off the field, he looked like scoring every time. And he did get a couple of goals. But yeah, I certainly hope they keep hold of him. I think if he can stay fit, he'd be like a new signing. And Naby Keita's the same. If he can stay fit, those 2 guys are just going to feel like new signings. And good to see this morning, and albeit in a
4-3
loss, Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez back out on the field. How great as a Liverpool fan is it to see that?
Makes me very happy, man. Makes me very happy. I can't wait to see them both playing for Liverpool again. I'm just hoping they're going to be the same players because you've seen people struggle with injuries like that and then come back and not be quite the same player. What about Ox though playing the false nine? What are your thoughts on that?
I haven't seen any of it yet, but the reports I've read is that he did pretty well, and I think because when he does play in the midfield for us, he's a strong runner with the ball, and I think he could do a lot of damage from that false nine position.
Yeah, I like it, and I also like the fact that he's got Firmino to bounce off and learn the position from, and he's probably the best at playing false nine of any player in the world, maybe. It could be the making of him. I'd love to see him playing a little bit further forward and not out wide, because he's the sort of guy that can really drive at the goal. I still remember that great goal that he scored against City from long distance. That was just a cracker. I just loved it. The main thing for Ox, just don't get injured. Please, just don't get injured, You're exactly right. Still no news on a contract for Jordan Henderson. And Spurs are now sniffing around saying he would be an absolutely ideal signing for them. Of course he would. Of course he would. They can't have him, can they, Macca?
No, absolutely not. And I don't think he's going anywhere. I think it's just a case of once he gets back into training camp with the boys, and as I said last week, I don't think it's got anything to do with money. No. I think it's probably the length of term is probably the bugbear. And really, FSG, just give it to him. Whatever he wants, give it to him.
Exactly. Especially now you got rid of Wijnaldum. We got a bit of money, pay the man. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has signed a brand new 4-year contract. Why? Why? He's got 1.5 years to run. None of the major clubs in Europe will be sniffing. No one wants Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Why did they have to sign him for another 4 years? Why couldn't they just wait until the end of the season and just see how he does for one more season? I mean, not that it really bothers me, but it's actually quite funny. For a Liverpool fan, this guy's got 5 years now. He'll probably be sacked at the end of this year. Then I'll still have to pay him. So I just think it's crazy.
Yeah, Ollie's at the wheel,
driving the bus straight over the cliff.
Now, what's been happening down at Fratton Park, mate? Portsmouth,
God knows. But they've sacked 3 youth players after it was revealed that they were the ones, or amongst the ones, that sent racist messages to English players Rashford, Sancho, and Saka after they missed penalties during the Euro final. Obviously, they never miss a penalty down in Portsmouth.
Yeah. Obviously. It's just disgusting. Really.
Isn't it awful? They're actually football players.
Yeah.
Well, at least the club did the right thing and sacked them, I guess. So
yeah,
you're not going to learn your lesson.
It's just like a Blues youth player sending a racist message to Rico Ioane because he stuffed up a try against Australia last year.
It's just nuts, man.
Why would you?
Calling him a racial epithets. It's like what?
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
Anyway, enough of our football. Should we go to the rugby union? Of course, there was the British and Irish Lions. They won. The Lions won the first test, didn't they? Cape Town, 22-17. I didn't see any of this, mate. Did you see it?
Yeah, I did. The Springboks started well and led 12-3 at halftime, but unfortunately, as we've seen with many Springbok sides of the past, they don't really have a plan B. Once they've sort of the opposition have caught up with what they're actually doing, they don't often. Then they can be quite one-dimensional. The South Africans, especially with their big forwards. And don't get me wrong, they're bloody good big forwards.
Yeah.
But they just seem to just fall off when it comes to trying to do something a bit different when the opposition catches up with their plan. But in saying that, the Lions did play very well. Only scored 1 try in that 22 points. And of course, the Springboks did have 2 tries disallowed.
VAR decisions.
Both for legitimate reasons. I mean, it wasn't anything close, anything like a toenail offside or anything like that. But Willie LaRue was definitely offside in the try that he scored. And the other one was definitely a forward pass, I think it was.
Okay.
So, I mean, both teams played very well. Just the Lions were a bit more clued up and had a plan B and changed their attack patterns in the second half.
Well, you got to think, though, that, look, whenever the Lions play, generally the first test, they've got their best chance of winning, I think, the Lions for that first test, because the home nation hasn't played. Whether it's New Zealand, Australia, or South Africa, that first test is the Lions' best chance of winning a test match, in my opinion, because they've had they haven't had a great build-up, but they've had more build-up than the South Africans have this time. So for me, I think that was, you'd have to say, okay, that's the practice run done for South Africa. They've got to come out firing. They're the world champions in the second test, and I would expect they would. I expect South Africa to win these next two tests. They're both going to be played in Cape Town as well, which is interesting, aren't they? Both been moved from Johannesburg due to COVID as well. Yep. I heard a little something. They didn't play at the normal ground they normally play it in Cape Town. They played at the football ground, and the ground was cutting up quite a bit. Is that correct?
The turf did cut up quite a lot. As Murray Mexted would say, this field's rooted.
It's rooted.
It's rooted. Yes, it was at the football stadium. They do normally play at Newlands in Cape Town, which is a very old historical traditional stadium. Not sure why they moved it to the newer stadium. But yeah, it's a far nicer stadium to watch. But not that there was anybody there to watch it. So yes, 2 tests to go. Could be an interesting series. I think it'll be very close.
Okay. Well, get off the fence. I think it'll be very close. Come on.
I think the Lions, after winning that first test, you'd probably have to back them to win the series.
Fair enough. Good stuff. That wasn't that painful, was it? Okay.
That gun to my head.
Shall we go to rugby league, mate? Shall we go to a bit of the league? The Warriors' woes continue. Will it get worse before it gets better? It already has. Of course, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and Lisa Naumau have now left the team. Peter Hiku, obviously last week we got absolutely pantsed, and we really played terribly. It was probably the worst performance of the season, going from the best performance the week before, but that's just the way it is with the Warriors at the moment. We go from penthouse to outhouse that quick. It's crazy. A number of players out through injury, some lacking form, guys coming and going because of all sorts of protocols, new signings. It's really just been a mess of a season, and I think we're all ready to just sort of say flush it all down the dunny and move on. Peter Hiku returns to the team tonight to captain against the Tigers. They're playing the Tigers tonight at 8 p.m, so I'm still looking forward to that, even though I sometimes, at the end of the game, I'm often wondering why I do look forward each week. Looking at the team, we've got Walsh at fullback, Dylan Watini-Zelezniak and Montoya on the wings, Pompey and Aiken in the centres. Hiku is playing at standoff, which is an interesting call. O'Sullivan has been moved into halfback. We've got Tanoa Brown and Murdoch Masila as our props. Tanoa Brown coming back after a couple of weeks away. Playing for the reserve graders. Otukolo, the new boy at hooker, he looked quite handy last week. Solomon Kata and Sirinen in the second row, and Josh Curran coming off as the loose forward. I quite like the look of that side, but once again, we got a lot of players out, a lot of guys injured, suspended, all sorts of problems. Other ones coming back to New Zealand, so not holding my breath, but I'm still going to support my team, mate. Still going to support my team.
As you do.
Yep. And of course, the Rugby League World Cup have made an official statement regarding New Zealand and Australia not attending the Rugby League World Cup.
They didn't get Mark Robinson to write that statement, did they?
No, they actually said things that are quite pointed and actually made sense. They said, in light of decision of New Zealand and Australia to withdraw, the board have instructed the World Team to continue to hold further urgent discussions with all stakeholders, particularly the players, aimed at correcting misinformation as well as measuring the sentiment on proceeding with the tournament. So basically, they've said that they're going to proceed with certainty, and they're looking to maybe bring in some other teams. They're looking at maybe selecting a native New Zealand and Australian side, Maori and Indigenous Australian side, to go over there. What they could have done is, before they announced the Australian League and the New Zealand League announced that they were canning the whole thing, they could have canvassed some of their players and sort of said, look, who is available, and maybe sent a team. Just to come out and say blanket, most of our players didn't want to be vaccinated. Love to know the numbers. That's just sounds to me like it's a little bit of executive speak. I'd love to know the actual numbers that the people said no to the vaccination. So, yeah, we'll just keep our eyes on that to see whether the Rugby League World Cup goes ahead. Last night, the Roosters.
The other thing they could have done.
Yep.
Just postpone it for a year.
Yeah, well, that's an option, eh? That's an option. Who would have thought of postponing? Anyway, last night the Roosters beat the Eels 28-0. A masterclass by Joey Manu, the New Zealand-born centre for the Roosters. He racked up some absolutely phenomenal stats. I'm just going to get them here for you. Running for more meters than anyone in history. There's talks that he's worth $1 million a season. And now in 2020, the NRL website reported that Clint Gutherson broke the record of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for run meters in a game, 369 meters in a game. Joey Manu last night apparently went for 373 meters. So he is now, he got 2 line breaks, he got a try, and he had 26 runs during the game. So, 80 minutes, that means you're running the ball every 4 minutes. That's pretty impressive. The guy's a stud, absolutely fantastic player. Thank God he's a Kiwi. There's been a lot of debate on the socials recently about Craig Bellamy, and is he the GOAT of rugby league coaches? Because of course they are the favourite to rack up another one. I've just been going through his stats as well, and really, 490 games, 342 wins.
It's not a bad effort.
70% win record. That's pretty handy. I know there's a number of guys that have played, that have coached for a lot more games, and he's won 5 premierships and had 9 grand finals. It'd be hard. You'd be hard pressed to go past anyone other than Craig Bellamy. A lot of people say that. When I read some of the comments on here, though, they did make me laugh. Doesn't matter what we think, when you put five asterisk premierships up for cheating, stuff like this. So they all come out,
Oh yes, they all come out.
And a lot of people mentioning obviously Wayne Bennett in the same conversation, Tim Sheens, and also Jack Gibson, of course. Jack Gibson,
super coach,
comments from the super coach.
Jack, where else would you expect him to be?
Piss off, Jack Gibson. What'd you say to me?
I tell him.
Nothing wrong with a bit of claret helps you hang on to the pill, isn't it? Oh, yes. Jack Gibson, what a great coach he was as well. And the Sydney Roosters have identified the haptic cheese. Brandon Smith is the man to replace Boyd Cordner in the long term. Please, Brandon, don't go to the Roosters. Don't go to the Roosters. I would hate that to happen. Come to the Warriors.
Oh, the cheese at the Roosters, he'd end up being some fancy Gouda or blue.
Yes, he would.
Yes, he would. Everyday run-of-the-mill cheddar.
Chicken and cheese. Absolutely. So there they go. That's our league rep for the week. Should we go to stateside and cover your big game, mate? Baseball. What's been going on in the baseball?
Oh, man. Trade season's now in absolute full swing, and the trade deadline closes at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, so about 8 a.m. Saturday morning New Zealand time. Probably one of the most interesting trades so far was the deal struck between Houston and Seattle, with the Astros prizing star closer Kendall Graveman from the Mariners. The strangeness of it is the Mariners are still competing.
We're still there.
Spot. And are really not that far out of the race for the division as well.
I know. But then again, we're really good at stuffing up our own prospects, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
God.
Just a few trades that have happened. Blue Jays have got closer Brad Hand from the Nationals. That's a good get for the Blue Jays. They've been struggling to get a regular closer. White Sox get reliever Ryan Tepera from Cubs. Crosstown trade there. Doesn't happen very often. White Sox to the Cubs. But like you don't see many Red Sox to Yankees trades or Dodgers to Angels. Diamondbacks infielder Eduardo Escobar goes to the Milwaukee Brewers. And Oakland have strengthened their outfield. They've picked up Miami Marlins outfielder Starling Marte, who was with the Diamondbacks last year. Now, the New York Yankees have been very busy over the last 24 hours.
Why? They're not going to make the playoffs.
They're only 2 games out of the wild card. So
no chance. Not the way they played against the Red Sox, mate. They were hopeless.
No, they just beat the Rays in a 3-game series, 2 games.
Yeah.
So,
mate, you're as hopeful about them as I am about the Warriors.
Quite right. But the Yankees, they've
Joey Gallo
Holmes, a reliever from Pittsburgh Pirates.
Sorry, who was that, mate?
Sorry,
who did they get?
Clay Holmes. He's a nobody, but he strengthens the bullpen. The big 2 signings, though, and one I just saw pop up on Twitter while we've been doing the podcast.
Joey Gallo.
Was Joey Gallo signed, that was finalised earlier this morning, New Zealand time.
I saw that one.
But the one that I've just seen pop up is the Yanks have a deal in place with the Chicago Cubs for first baseman Anthony Rizzo.
Really?
Really? I thought Rizzo was a Cubs lifer.
So did I.
I think many Cubs fans think.
Has that happened?
Yeah, it's happened.
Far out.
Yep.
How many guys do you need to hit, man? How many guys do you need? You got so many guys.
The Yankee lineup with the short porch in right field was desperately short of left-handed hitters this year. They only had Brett Gardner, who's
old. Basically,
playing his 19th or 18th season with the Yankees this year, and is the only one left from the last World Series win in 2009. And a couple of switch hitters who were both injured, Aaron Hicks and I can't think of the other one. But, so 2 big hitting left-handers coming into the lineup. So that's massive. And
that's crazy, the Rizzo one. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, they're still also talking about prizing Trevor Story, the shortstop or possibly another left-hander, Kyle Schwarber from the Nationals. So
you really are the Man United of baseball, aren't you?
No, we're not.
You're awful.
Awful. We're the Man City.
You just pluck all the good players, don't you? Hey?
So, but another big news this morning is that the San Diego Padres are close to getting superstar Max Scherzer.
Wow.
Nationals.
Massive trade.
That would be huge if that one goes through.
Wow, that would make the Padres instant contenders, wouldn't it, if they got him? I mean...
Oh, absolutely.
If they're not already, but, I mean, if they got him, wow.
Yeah. Some of the interest around some of the sides that are contending but haven't done anything, the Boston Red Sox.
No.
Haven't done a single thing in the trades so far. And the other one was also one of the contenders in the... New York Mets, they've been very quiet in the...
The thing is, though, when you look at the records of the Mets and the Red Sox, and you look at how good they're going, why do they need to? I mean, and also it could, the balance could be slightly up by bringing someone else in. Both of them have stellar records, don't they? What are the Red Sox on at the moment? They've got...
Red Sox are 63-40.
There you go. That's a phenomenal.
Games over 500, so they're a storming season.
Yeah.
The Mets record's not such a great record, but they are in a very tight division. They're 54-47, but they're 3.5 games ahead of the Phillies. So you'd think they'll...
And also they're cashed up, so you'd think they'd probably go and get someone, wouldn't you?
And I was going to say the Los Angeles Dodgers, but then I noticed they just finalized a trade for Kansas City relief Danny Duffy. So they've added there. So lots happening in the trades. I'm sure there'll be more to happen before 8 o'clock tomorrow morning New Zealand time, and we'll pick up on those again in the next podcast.
Beautiful.
Looking at the Kiwis in the States, Jason Matthews just continues to add hit after hit.
Yep.
Raised his batting average from last week to 361, 56 hits, 5 home runs, 10 doubles, 6 triples, 38 runs batted in, and 47 runs in 43 games. So he's going great guns in that.
Wow.
Independent Pioneer League. Kyle Glogowski still being troubled by that right elbow strain. He's still on the DL. And Ben Thompson's not had such a great week at the Low A Augusta Green Jackets. His ERA has jumped up to 5.73 after getting touched up in 3 games in a row over the last week. And Elliot Johnston is pretty much on his way now over to the States to join up with the New York Mets rookie team. And they begin in August.
Nice.
which is the day after tomorrow.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And it's also a very special day, isn't it, Mac?
Quite right. You might be another day to flick the calendar over.
All right. We got anything else to talk about, mate?
Not really. I just got a couple of good week, bad weeks here.
Yeah.
A good week, Quade Cooper, after being turned down for Australian residency 3 times, has been called up by Wallabies coach Dave Rennie for his Bledisloe and Rugby Championship Series squad. So good on you, Quade.
So they've got So they've got an overstayer playing for them.
Yeah, quite right.
What's going on? They
the odd times for the Wallabies, and he can't get residency.
Yeah, he's good. He's good enough to wear an orange jersey, but he can't, he's not good enough to get the passport.
Wearing a chocolate wrapper. Bad week. New Zealand Supercars fans after the Kiwi round was cancelled for the second year running due to COVID. Obviously, with all the gear and people associated with the supercars, it was just too hard, I guess.
Yeah, that's sad that we're missing out on some big sport, mate. Big live sport. I mean, like I say, 2 years since the Warriors have played a home game. I haven't seen any live professional league for a long time. We got the rugby and the cricket, a little bit of that happening here, but other than that, most of the sports taking place offshore. And of course, we've still got a pandemic going on, don't we, mate? We've got to remind some people of that.
Quite right. Good to see, though, in England and the UK, the numbers of new COVID positive tests is coming down very quickly, which means that we might get some crowds back in the stadiums for this coming Premier League season.
But then you wait a week and they're back up. So you just have to hang on. You know, you watch those graphs and you just think, what's going on? There's a Delta variant. I'm just waiting for the next variant. And what comes after D in the alphabet? E. The
Electra.
The Electra variant.
Well, I'm halfway to being fully vaccinated. Had my first shot yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Beautiful.
Halfway to being fully vaccinated. Bring on the world. I'm ready.
Mac is coming for you, world. Watch out. Oh, beautiful. And on that bombshell, I think we'll end it here, shall we?
Yeah, we shall.
Okay, until next week, make sure you like, subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. Place a comment below. We'll catch you next time for another Hot Air Sports podcast. Until then, it's good night from me.
And it's goodbye from me.